Yeah.
So they paid us.
So we don't have to transfer that.
All right, we will call this meeting to order of the Boyle County Fiscal Court on June the 11th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Madam Clerk, has this meeting been advertised and do we have a quorum?
Yes.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Good to see everybody. Magistrate Harmon, will you lead us in our invocation, please?
Let us pray. Father, we thank you this morning for this opportunity to be a part of the fiscal court and the people of Boyle County. And Lord, we pray for our county and other counties around us, Lord, that you will strengthen us, that you will lead us in the right direction, that we can make the decisions what's best for all. And Lord, we know that our nation is in the middle of an election, but Lord, we pray that your will be done and not ours. And Father, we pray for each family here today and pray you'll bless them and watch over them. And Lord, guide us through this time of court meeting. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, now we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a special guest with us this morning. We have Carter McAfee, and he is in the 5th grade at Woodlawn Elementary. He is the son of Michael and Kara McAfee. So, Carter, if you will start, we will follow you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You all can be seated. Carter, I've got a little certificate for you to recognize you in leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance for the court. And if you'll come up, we'll get a photo. Just turn around right here on it. Yeah, you just do a little. There you go. All right, and thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Now you can stay, but I'm sure school is calling. No, not school.
Summer break.
Hey, swimming pool is calling.
Summer break is calling.
You don't have any advantage.
No. Okay, prior meeting minutes. We have the minutes from May 28th. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Magistrate Gay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Sleeper. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. And now we will have our budget transfers.
I have the budget transfers for your approval. Do I need to go through them?
Just the totals.
The totals. For the general fund, it's $62,813.11. For public works was $214,944.18. For joint jail was $21,279.51. For the E911 fund was $58,505.52. The health fund was $54,750. EMS was $14,363.76. Fleet management was $159.34. And then for the ARPA was $1,062.90 for a total of $380,621.79.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the budget transfers?
I make a motion.
Magistrate Wagner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Harmon. Any discussion on budget transfers? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Okay, cash transfers?
I have one cash transfer from the ARPA fund to the general fund for $2,975.
Okay, motion to approve cash transfers?
So moved.
Magistrate Ellis, is there a second?
Second.
Magistrate Gay, any discussion on cash transfers? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now we will approve our bills, Ms. Elena.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. The bills to be paid in your packets this time total $4,467,553.49, and there are no last minute add-ons.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the bills?
I make a motion.
Second.
Magistrate Wagner, second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion on the bills?
One question.
Okay.
On page 12, it says May commission to Danville was negative 41,000. What was that? They just owed us money back?
That is the commission. Every time we do one of those bills, you're gonna have a negative at Danville.
Right.
That commission goes to us because we're collecting the taxes for them.
Okay, so it comes out of their bucket, goes into ours.
Goes into our bucket.
All right, and then on the primary pay, is it based on how many hours they work, or is it per day, or how long they've been with us? Because I saw various people on there that were like somewhere much higher than others.
It's per day, and it's if they work early voting or not.
Yeah.
Then there's some that only work election day,
Got it.
and there's some that work
Okay.
both.
I have that spreadsheet here. If you want to look at it, it kind of explains like here's your training day, and then here's what they get paid Thursday, Friday, early voting Saturday, and then election day. So some may work every day, some may only
Okay.
work 2 or just get
Good deal.
training.
And then I was just looking, and we've got both sitting next to each other. The sheriff's fuel and EMS fuel there's like a staggering difference, and I was just kind of curious because, I feel like there's almost more. Well, I guess there's about the same amount of vehicles for a sheriff's department. Is that typical, or we just have a heavy month for the sheriff's department because theirs was a lot higher?
Can you look at it?
We can talk about it later. I just was
You got a
curious.
page number for that?
Yeah.
No, that's a little heavy for the sheriff's department. $10,881, I think. Is that what it is?
For the month, yeah.
For the month. That's a little heavy for the sheriff's department, but it's not exuberant. It's
Okay.
pretty close to what they normally run.
Okay.
And 5,000 is pretty close to what EMS normally runs. I don't know why it's so much more.
I just found it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. And that fuel bill covers all your chase vehicles too, right? How many do we have that are diesel?
All the ambulances are diesel except for one gas engine, and the rest are all gas engine.
Diesels?
We have 6 ambulances that are diesel, 1 that's gas, and then 4 chase vehicles that are gas.
All right. Good. All right, yeah, that's my question. Sorry.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, no old business. So the first item in new business is the library board appointment, and I have received a letter from the Education and Labor Cabinet for Department for Library and Archives. They have submitted 2 names, and I have contacted Ms. Ross, Linda Ross, and asked her if she would like to serve, and she gladly said yes. So I would like to present her name for approval to the library board, and this is due to the resignation of Margaret Levi. I can get a motion to approve Ms.
So
Linda
moved.
Ross.
So moved.
Okay, Master Gay, is there a second?
Second.
Master Wagner, any discussion on the appointment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Ms. Linda, would you like to say anything?
I appreciate the opportunity to
All
serve
right.
the community.
That's awesome. All right. Yeah, you get a big certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The
Appreciate
one
it.
question
Yeah.
I will ask or statement is any help that we can get with looking at expanding and adding some branches into like Junction and Perryville. It's been a mission of mine and my colleagues here, so if you can carry that back to the board, we'd greatly appreciate more than just bookmobiles, just actual presences in the community.
Well, if you didn't catch my accent, I come from Rhode Island originally, and
Oh.
I'm a librarian
Yes.
for 31 years. And I was surprised when I moved here that there wasn't a branch system. That's my history, but
Yeah.
I'll have to learn more about it.
Maybe you could educate them on branch.
I'm an East Coast person as well, so welcome.
Okay.
Glad you found paradise.
I'm sure Miss Colleen knows too, so.
Yes. She looked right over as soon as she heard me talking. She's like, oh, I know where this is going.
I know your song, I can sing it.
Let's put it on the radio on repeat, because
He does anyway.
Yeah, better you than
Building the
Jason.
orchestra.
Yes.
Build the orchestra first.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, they got the great auditorium over there. We gotta have the orchestra, right?
All right, next is Kentucky Emergency Management Director, is that right? Mr. Eric Gibson? Welcome.
Thank you very much. I was put on the agenda just to come in and speak a little bit to the fiscal court about how Kentucky Emergency Management ties into the counties. And we've been visiting a few of the counties, and later this week I'll probably see some of you again at the County Judge Executives Conference. They've asked me to speak a little bit there. So what we're trying to talk about a lot about is communicate well about what we do there and how we interact with the counties and how we tie together. I think over the past few years, emergency management, if you look back into the history, you know, you all had a long history with Mr. Wilder and now with Brian, and you've had a really stable environment here where it's been the same for many, many years. And it almost gets overlooked in a lot of the discussions, but there's a nice tie to what we do as a state agency and how it reaches down to the locals. Recently in this last event, well, I'll go back and say just briefly, we currently are working through in the last 5 years, we're on our 11th presidential declaration for services to the state. Our obligated expenses are almost $2 billion in public assistance that are run through that department for our state down to the counties. So that money funnels through our department as a way of repairing bridges, repairing roads, and you know, we've had massive flooding and massive tornadoes. And this last event on May, a Memorial Day event, we almost kind of overlook it because we've had such large expenses over the past couple, large disasters with huge expenses. But this event on Memorial Day was like 168 miles of tornadoes in that one event. And so we're going to get another presidential declaration. Public assistance is already estimated at $49 million worth of damage to our state. Individual assistance programs are about 197 homes totally destroyed across the state. Florida's sending us a bunch of trailers up. Actually, I got a meeting with them here in just a few minutes to start moving trailers in for people to be housed in. There's going to be some temporary housing needs across our state. So we provide that kind of a connection for this county if we were to be struck in that kind of same scenario. I know we've had a few near misses, and we did have some minor damage in this last event, but during the tornado event, I think that was Brian's first day on the job almost. He got indoctrinated with that tornado out there at the airport that affected some of the homes. But our agency provides a lot of support to the counties, and I'm from here, so it means a lot to me to make sure that our county is properly represented. We also transfer money on a regular basis through EMPG dollars to our county here. Every county gets an allotment. I think Boyle County's is typically around $20,000 that goes to help fund our work here with Director Paul. But our role, or my role there is, as being a local for Boyle County, I appreciate being allowed to speak to the fiscal court. But more than anything, I just come to say is like if we can be of help and there's a problem that we can address with emergency management dollars, there are funds available to do a lot of programs that are really kind of unknown. Mitigation dollars help pay for, storm shelters, sirens, all those kind of projects that we can get funded, obviously with an application process and approvals. There's also a lot of public assistance. I was looking at, I don't know the day that the Mitchellsburg Knob Road fell in, but if that were during the storm event, there would be, some public assistance dollars. I don't know if it was the 21st through the 26th, we would include it in this particular event because the Weather Service and FEMA have viewed the 21st to the 26th as one weather pattern. So you might miss the fact that, I don't know the date that it happened, but I was just noticing that it did happen. So something like that would be where we would be of help. 75% of those costs could be covered under a public assistance declaration if the county meets its minimum threshold for public assistance. Your all's threshold is $140,000. So once you cross that $140,000 and the state crosses 8.9 million, public assistance dollars turn on for the county. So each county has its own individual threshold, and then that transitions to a state threshold. So we always ask for damage assessments And that's the hard part, is communicating this message to our judges and our county EMs, how each county builds upon that state threshold, and you may not particularly have your own threshold met in Boyle County, but you're helping your neighboring counties, because everybody's cumulative total, whether you meet your individual threshold or not, works for the state's threshold. So it opens up those dollars. A few other good things, we've moved the urban search and rescue program, and Director Caldwell's got some experience in this, so I'm kind of hoping that I can borrow him a little bit. Our new urban search and rescue program has become fully funded. We have $15.7 million over the next biennium budget from the state government to stand that team up. It's going to be a 210-man urban search and rescue task force that'll go across the state and be deployed nationally as a FEMA resource. So we're actually, that start the funding goes in place on July the 1st for that. So we'll be using our county. Obviously, we're not going to hire 210 people to sit around and wait on a building to collapse. So the idea would be that our counties have those trained staff through the Danville Fire Department, through the county fire department. Anybody that has these certain credentials and attends the training can be a member, and then they would deploy in these rotations of 70-man teams downrange for 14-day deployments. So like local rescue squads is another thing that we fund there. That I know that Ryan and I were talking this morning a little bit about the local rescue squads and how they're tying into the EMS runs, and how they're working with the different medical calls that come in now. And if you have lost children or whatever, and you need a search and rescue team. That typically has been a really limited funding source. We've had about $80,000 to operate that, and now that's moved up. There's $580,000 this year available for counties to apply for. So there's some new money coming out that we're in better fiscal shape than we were. The department, by getting the urban search and rescue funded, some general fund dollars were awarded by the legislative body, and then we continue to grow other programs through EMPG, hazmat. There's tons of opportunities for each county to receive some benefit of what we have to offer, and you all kind of have a inside track, maybe just a little bit. I know where it's at anyway. I can help you make sure you get to talk to the right people. So
We like having friends in high places.
high places. There's plenty of work to be done. If I can be of any help, and my neighbor Tom asked me to come in and just talk about it a little bit of what KYEM can do for Boyle County and how we can be more helpful. And that's the main reason I'm here today, is if you need somebody, you got somebody. Tom's and of course Judge and all the magistrates, I know about everybody here pretty well, so I just want to make sure you knew we're available at your all's need.
So the county has a $140,000 threshold. What about individuals?
Individuals have no threshold.
No
So
threshold,
that's
okay.
only public assistance. So like
Income caps?
I'm sorry?
Income caps?
No, that doesn't matter. Actually, FEMA does not allow you to look at income. That's not a lack of, it's social factors are probably more one of the things. But like in Jessamine County, on the April 2nd event, that was a presidential declaration in April. Jessamine County, our neighbors, they were declared on that event. And we have small business centers open to business recovery centers, they call them. They're open up there, disaster recovery centers. And then we have disaster and survivor assistance teams going into those counties. So things they might provide that you might not realize. On like an individual assistance declaration, there is no threshold. It's just, are there people that have need, and does the state in all exceed its local capacity to handle that need? And that's really what FEMA uses to make its determination on individual assistance is have you surpassed what the county can handle on its individual basis to provide the assistance for the survivors. And it doesn't take a lot. If you look at the whole state as a whole, there's a lot of need. So there was 11 counties declared in the April 1st and 2nd event, 19 tornadoes that night. But like Jessamine County has that damage. So we had some businesses damaged. So there's some low interest rate loans available for repairs. Obviously they look at insured, so that's always a big question. But the deductible counts for the loss. So they, even though many businesses may have a 10% deductible on their premium or whatever, so that would count towards that loss that could be assistance given. Also, there's initial storm survivor dollars that are new individual assistance program come out in March of this year. So there's $750 for like initial storm cleanup. It's like quick in the pocket kind of thing. And then there's another $350 clean and sanitize program that they've offered to help people at least clean up and mop up the mess and stuff like that. So even if you don't necessarily qualify because you have other things, there's still that minimum of initial survivor assistance that provide a benefit to our residents. And I would want, anybody in the county, if they're looking at a torn up mess at their house, $1,000 go a long way as far as making sure you can at least clean up the mud. I mean, that's not going to fix it, but it might do emergency protection, maybe a tarp on a roof, get somebody in to help you. It's not meant to repair or replace the entire thing, because that's what insurance is going to come in and do. But this is initial survivor assistance dollars. So never miss an opportunity to at least do your damage assessments. That's what we beg the counties to understand the value of doing those. One, because you're adding to the cumulative total to the state, but then on top of that, we're providing those applications to the president, and when we petition on behalf of every county that applies. So if you get in there, your county, your citizens are be the beneficiary of it. Obviously, it's not necessarily. Public is, like I said, they're completely two separate pieces of the discussion. Public assistance is a numeric equation that determines if you're eligible or not. Individual is based on need of the county. Obviously, social factors would increase the need because they're less likely to be able to recover as quickly. So social factors, if it's a low income or poverty-stricken area that's impacted, they would make determinations based on those factors.
All right, any other questions?
Judge, beyond being great neighbors, both Eric and my Gibson, I'm kind of harking back to Katrina when it hit Louisiana. And I remember there were horror stories about hundreds of trailers that were parked outside of Louisiana, and some of them never got there over a 2 or 3 year period to help the people down there. And having the direct contact with Eric here in this county for 120 counties is just a privilege that money can't buy. So
Absolutely.
bless you for being with us.
Yep.
We're going to take care of our state as a whole. I mean, our judges across the western part, Hopkins County and Muhlenberg, are really suffering right now. Their loss is pretty great. I spent Memorial Day down there visiting those homes and the people that were impacted, and I mean, that's a mess. If you haven't talked to Judge Whitfield, you might see him this weekend or over there at the event, but Judge Whitfield's got his hands full down there right now. He's got a mess, and his debris estimates are over $5 million. Well, that's a lot for the county to assume that responsibility, so we're trying to work with him to get public assistance dollars to help get this debris removal, in addition to the roads and buildings that were damaged, so we see all kinds of things that come through. But Hopkins County and Muhlenberg County are both over $5 million in just debris removal from the right of way. So it's not private property. Now, private property owners can move their debris to the right of way, and FEMA will still pay for that pickup. So those are some things that people don't know, those little nuances. And it's not like, and to Director Caldwell's experience, I mean, that's something until you experience it, you don't know it. So, you have a Category 3 tornado come through, and you'll find out pretty quick what's available though. And that's what's happened to those guys. They've had the exact same homes that were damaged in 2021. When I talked to the people, they were the exact same homes are gone again. They built their house 30 days ago. Some of them had been in 30 days.
In one of our conferences statewide, after the event in December a year ago, I was talking to one of the county judges, and people lost a $125,000 house, and it was going to cost them $250,000 to build it back. And in addition to that, his great concern was, do I send them a tax bill when they're looking at the floor joists to their basement? And I don't know how that was ever resolved. Does FEMA ever, or any of the federal funds come in to help with that sort of a thing?
So that question, that's a whole separate matter that you're talking about. So property tax evaluations so we pulled them into this conversation. Obviously,
good.
The one here in this county I get to talk to. I get told what to do pretty often most of the time. So I actually pulled them into the initial conversations from the April 2nd event because it's so important for them to understand. They may not ever get the information of which houses were damaged because that's not part of the emergency response. It's not been in the historical storms. It's not been part of that emergency response. You didn't consider the PVA as needing to know what was going on. But in fact, that tax bill and that taxpayer's emotional support is actually, or the emotional distress that comes along with having, a damaged home or something completely destroyed, and then getting a bill in the mail for something you don't even own anymore. Right. But the way that statute is written, it's January 1st of the calendar year. So any damage that occurs in July or December, does not exclude that tax bill. And there was some legislation that was discussed but never moved forward to do some sort of pro rata for the number of months that the house actually was in this county. But to remove those dollars from, so how, and you all know this, and my wife would be the way better person to talk to about it, but how the county, you all set your budget based on that house being here. Because she's assessed that house on January 1st, and the tax bill's been processed, the tax bill's processed, you all have those dollars in your budget. And then if that house is destroyed and the bill's not paid in October, then that's a shortfall for the county for the number of homes that were damaged, that income is lost. And so you all have to understand that January 1st is the date that she's by law mandated in the Constitution. I think it's actually where that's at, not statute, but it's a fair cash value January 1st every calendar year. So that's a big issue. It's either statute or in the Constitution, but it's in there anyway. So I know she quotes it pretty regularly, so she's good at it. So to your point, getting them involved and letting them have those discussions early on, or at least some way to help comfort those citizens in our counties. So we've included them in every one of our discussions and storm assessments.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate the information, and we know we got 2 good contacts we can call on. And
well, it's good.
They live in that blue area, by the way.
yeah, live in that blue area.
I'm pretty good friends, so he actually has got my personal cell phone number. So any need through the county, you can obviously direct it to me or direct it to him, and I'll get with him and we'll solve the problem. So,
all right.
there's more out there available than most people realize. Honestly, is the truth.
Well, we like to get money, so we need to know how, why, when, and where we can get it, and what we're not doing to, or what we're doing or not doing.
Well,
Put it that way.
like I said, there's always a transition.
Yeah.
So anytime there's a transition between administrations, it's always what was going on before, what's going on now. And the Boyle County's had the luxury of having Mike Wilder for so many years that it's so.
And Lenny before him.
And Lenny before him, that's right. You had some people that have just been in this for a really long time, and Director Caldwell's been doing a great job, with what he's done. But he, with Mike getting sick, there wasn't a lot of transition training.
Right.
So that was hard. So
Yeah.
he's really had to learn on the go. And be handed the storm the first day. It's really the easiest thing for him to do. So, but if there is any loss here in the county, or there's something we can help with, we're there. I mean, there's a lot more that goes on than just tornadoes too.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to just say that. There really is. Like the train derailments, the mine collapse, when we activate for all those type of things to provide assistance. So
You were talking about Tom's neck of the woods there. Wyoming just had that one road completely shut down. That was a major lifeline for people. I can only imagine if that happened here.
Right. Well, the bridge in Fairville's a big deal.
Right.
I mean, that really is. I mean, you're talking a major U.S. artery that runs from, our 75 to 65 corridor that people are transferring across there all day long. So, just takes one place like that to make a major issue. So.
Yeah, good deal. Thanks, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you being
Appreciate
here. Have a good one. All right, next is 2 proclamations, and the first one is Flag Day. And this one is very near and dear to my heart because it's my birthday. So, all right.
Okay.
Flag Day proclamation. Whereas June 14th, 2024 marks a significant day in our nation's history as Flag Day, a time when we gather to honor and pay homage to the cherished emblem of our country, the American flag. Whereas the United States flag represents the unity, freedom, and democracy that form the foundation of our great nation, embodying the enduring principles of liberty, justice, and equality for all. Whereas the stars and stripes of the American flag serve as a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made by our brave men and women in uniform who have selflessly defended and preserved the freedom symbolized by this sacred banner. Whereas it is fitting and proper that we come together to renew our commitment to upholding the values and ideas represented by the flag and to reflect on the profound significance of this enduring symbol of national pride. Whereas on this Flag Day, let us unite in recognizing the importance of fostering unity, understanding among our diverse communities, and let us reaffirm our dedication to the principles that make our nation strong and resilient. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Trilly Bottom, Boyle County Judge Executive, and the Boyle County Fiscal Court do hereby proclaim June the 14th, 2024 as Flag Day, and encourage all citizens to display the flag, participate in activities honoring our national emblem, and to take a moment to reflect on the profound meaning of this symbol of freedom and unity. Have a motion to approve Flag Day proclamation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Discussion?
Aye.
You want to have discussion?
Yes, I do.
All right.
This, I did not serve, and I'm looking in the audience here at many who have. My comments are all the way back to 1776 and everybody who served since. But I'm going to focus on Flag Day because I have one friend who's a quadriplegic from a helicopter crash, a dear friend, and another very good friend from high school who served 2 tours in Vietnam in the worst of conditions. And that one organizes every year a Flag Day retirement ceremony on his farm in Shelby County. Please, both everyone here and anyone listening and viewing our program today, go to KET and type in Jeffersontown Flag Retirement Ceremony, and you will see where my friend, Vietnam veteran, 2 tours, has organized over the years that program on his farm. And one year they had over 20,000 flags that covered an area that would be the volume of this room or maybe a little more. When I went that year, over 50 of his fellow Vietnam veterans showed up, most of them on their Harleys. And it was at just after dark, one of the most moving ceremonies that I've ever seen in my life. And if you'll go on to KET and find that Flag Retirement Ceremony, Jeffersontown, Kentucky, I think you'll be equally moved. And of course, my father was a veteran, 4 years in the Pacific, my father-in-law 4 years over Europe. So it means a great deal to me since they served and I did not.
Thank you, Magistrate Ellis, for sharing that. Appreciate that. Any other discussion on the Flag Day proclamation? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Next, we have Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth is a day of great historical significance commemorating the emancipation of African American slaves in the United States and acknowledging the end of slavery's most enduring horrors. Whereas this day provides an opportunity to honor the resilience, contributions, and achievements of African Americans and to celebrate their rich cultural heritage and diversity. Whereas the significance of Juneteenth extends beyond its historical context, serving as a reminder of the continued pursuit of freedom, equality, and justice for all individuals, regardless of race, ethnicity, or background. Whereas the recognition of Juneteenth as a federal holiday signifies a commitment to amplifying the voices of those who have been historically marginalized and to fostering a more inclusive and equitable society for all. Whereas on this Juneteenth of 2024, let us rededicate ourselves to the ideas of unity, compassion, and mutual respect, and strive to create a future where every individual can live free from discrimination with their inherent rights and dignity upheld and protected. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Trilly Bottom, in the Boyle County Fiscal Court, do hereby proclaim June the 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth Freedom Day, and shall be recognized and celebrated as a day of freedom, unity, and reflection. Let us come together as a community to honor the rich heritage and contributions of African Americans and recommit ourselves to the ongoing pursuit of liberty and justice for all. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Magistrate Sleeper, second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. And a reminder, courthouse will be closed next Wednesday on June 19th. All right. Next is Jailer Brian Wofford, who we will give a belated happy birthday, happy 60th birthday yesterday.
Yeah. That's a few more where I'm at.
She advancing you a little bit?
She is.
I messed with him last night and texted him happy 60th.
Is it, Judge, is this gonna be your 60th as well?
No.
She's way older than I am.
Not by many.
She was ready to retire at the sheriff's department when I was just beginning my career.
Okay, so now we know, huh?
Yeah.
If you're turning 60, jail life must be good.
Yeah.
We're both just babies.
You know, the deputy sheriff's over there if you need him to handle anybody in this room.
So Judge, if it pleases the court, we'll just go ahead and do a quarterly report. I'll go ahead and start with that.
Sure.
So, as of today, we have Boyle, 61 inmates, Department of Corrections, 81, Mercer, 44, which is a little high for them, 2 for others, so that comes out to 188. And I have 41 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, and Magistrate Harmon will tell you what a feat that is. But that is due to the changes, the great changes that the fiscal court has made with pay and insurance. We have 4 going through our academy right now. We finished up firearms yesterday. So we're actually getting good people, quality people. Getting a lot of people from former military, or maybe they're in the reserves. So those are good people to have.
Shocking how that works, huh?
Yes, but it's working, and thank you all. So far as the building goes, we have about a 3-foot piece of snake broken off into one of our drains. So it's going to be about $1,400 for a plumber to come and put a camera in to see where it's at and how it's lodged. But I think what we're going to do, we found one online. We can buy our own camera for $400, and we've needed one because this is a daily or weekly. Barry will tell you this is a weekly event. So we're going to, I think, purchase that. And what we'll have to do is go behind it, in front of it, kind of see where it's at, try to knock it loose, and try. It's going to be a big deal. Then we're also waiting on a quote to fix our walk-in freezer. So trying to get somebody out that's certified to do that, so we're still waiting on that. I will give you an update on the lawsuit with KJA and DLC. So we have some good news. The first part, the judge says that he couldn't make a ruling to make 2 different unities have a contract. He said he couldn't do that. But from there on out, everything's good. So he did put out a summary judgment, or a partial summary judgment, on the days that they're supposed to transfer, 45 days once they're sentenced in circuit court and they're become CIs, controlled intakes. What we're going to do is we can write a letter to the Department of Corrections, because there was something changed in KRS that gave them 90 days, so it changed it. But they're not moving them in 90 days. It's more like 250 days. So, and it's dead time for them. They can't take any classes. They can't do anything. They just sit there. So they can't do anything at all. So our attorney is going to basically write a letter that all the jails are going to use, saying that we want them moved. We don't have to send a letter one time, saying that we want them moved in 45 days. So they'll have to follow that. Then the best part of this was on the medical care. And the judge used some pretty strong language in the summary, and basically he doesn't agree with what the Department of Correction considers routine medical care. And he actually used his wife as an example. She did that procedure. He said, you all would consider that routine. He said, it's not. So he ruled in our favor with that one. So that's going to save counties thousands and thousands of dollars. So we are moving forward. I know it's been a slow process, but having those 2 in the partial summary is in our favor. And I think this is going to help. So I'm hoping in the next legislative session, the state will look at, okay, we need to work on per diem. Because I think maybe the lawsuit, they wanted to see what was going to happen before they passed anything or did. So they're going to have to pay for anything outside the hospital. So I've had to buy prosthetic legs for $8,000. That's above routine. We've had several inmates that's costing us $10,000 a month for one medication that we're paying for as a county for state inmates. So that's going to help us tremendously.
And then also, just moving forward with, I know we haven't talked about the jail, building the jail, but while I was at the conference, I did have a couple other counties that were interested in housing inmates with us. So, I just kind of told them, well, you know, here's where we're at, so
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. So if something does
Okay.
change, I do have something, some people we can go, the judge and I would need to go talk to in some counties, so.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we have one more joint jail meeting, right?
Two,
Two.
June and July.
I have left the 3C contract. I have to bring it back up here. So next, I want to recommend that the fiscal court approve to go ahead and renew the contract with 3Cs,
You want,
which is the medical. I just sign this one, have you sign this one, and I'll fax it to them, then make sure
So
we get a
moved.
copy.
So moved.
okay, a motion by Magistrate Gates, or a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Ellis. Any discussion on the contract?
Routine, right?
Yes, and Chris looked at this, and they did change some wording on it, but there was one that Chris wanted changed. They said they couldn't because of their malpractice insurance wouldn't allow them to change, but they were agreeable to everything else.
Okay.
Good. All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And then Judge, I'll scan this in, go ahead and fax it, or send it to them, then I'll send.
And then I'll need a copy
I'll
of it.
get,
Yeah,
I'll
first.
send it, I'll CC Tina.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the next one is our SAP program contract or treatment. It's the standard, and you know, right now, we have no room to negotiate with the state, so we have to pretty much take it as is. So I'm going to recommend that the fiscal court go ahead and approve for me to sign and resubmit that.
Now, remind me, what exactly is this?
This is where we house the state inmates, or we provide the SAP program.
Say, okay.
And then
okay.
we also do the portals MRT, so there's money. So that money doesn't go to Shepherd's House. So the state pays us $10 a day to provide the services for the SAP program.
Okay.
So we use that money to Shepherd's House, so it's a wash. But this is money that actually comes back to the county, and I think it's in there, it's like $360,000. So it's a good deal for the fiscal court because I pay for our MRT and portals out of canteen, and that money comes back to kind of help offset the budget. So it's about $360,000. It's broken down by county there, Judge, I think it's on.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Is this an annual MOA or?
Well, it happens as they graduate. So if somebody, every time somebody graduates SAP, we get $1,000. So that comes back to the fiscal court. And then every time someone graduates, portals and MRT, we receive $600, plus we get an extra $2 a day while they're in class. So James will usually have 8 or 10 after they, what we do is after they graduate SAP, we move them out of that dorm, and they work during the day, and then in the evenings they take their MRT and portals classes James provides. So we're getting an extra $2 a day for that, and then $600. So that comes back here. It doesn't go to the Shepherd's House. The only money that goes to the Shepherd's House is the $10 a day payment for the SAP program.
Right.
So
So what was the total you said again?
I think it's 360. It should be on page.
I'm looking.
It should be the third page. We're at the top. It says Boyle County, so it says 40 bed SAP and then / MOUD, so it's $302,532.80. So it's right here on the third page. Usually on the back. Right there. So mine's not double-sided.
Oh, see, it don't have an amount, that's what I was looking for. There's no amount.
This
there.
one does.
Yeah, okay,
So,
okay. All right.
so that's for 40 beds of SAP and then
Because we
our,
only budgeted like 179 or something, so.
and I didn't know the amount, so,
Okay.
so it will actually be,
Yeah, yeah.
Good
so,
job.
so my request is the fiscal court approve me to go ahead and renew the contract, the SAP contract with the state.
And sign, okay.
We have
And I guess
contact
my-
for Boyle County on there, maybe need to change that now.
What now? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we were just discussing that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll get that changed too. Our
I
contact
guess this is
information.
an annual contract or is
It is, we have to do it every year, And now this may change next year depending on legislation and stuff, you know, on the pay, because I'm sure there'll probably be 2 contracts. If that's the way they go, we'll do one for just housing the state inmates, and then this contract for providing SAP and MRT portals.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve this
I'll second.
for Boyle County and not Adair Franklin.
Well, keep going.
Well, they listed all the
Yeah,
counties on there.
all the
Just
counties
showing
are
them-
listed.
Just showing them.
I thought the same thing at first.
Just on the title.
Yeah, I thought the same, like, well.
It's just kind of a blanket contract, and
I
they
kept
list what
looking.
each
Yeah.
amount for each county. So the counties that have more SAP beds, you know, receive more money,
Okay.
and they have solar
Gotcha.
programs. And that's something we're looking at doing. I'll let you all go ahead and vote on this.
Okay, so we have a motion by Magistrate Gates, or a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Ellis. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And I'll do the same, I'll CC Katina on these, so she'll
Okay.
have both
Yeah,
copies.
just make sure you get our contact information.
Well, we don't have one, so,
All of us.
Well, we do.
okay. All right, I'll put you on there. I'll have to put that in there. So,
Yeah.
one of the other programs I'm looking at starting is a SOAR program, and basically, there's 2 ways to do this. I'm trying to work with, I'm gonna make a phone call this week and set up a meeting. Starting in August, inmates will be eligible for the Pell Grant. So, which means we could take inmates to BCTC, and they could take classes. So we could drop them off. This has to be approved by the Department of Corrections. I can't just do this because they're state.
Individually?
There would be however many we could qualify. So I would take 5 out and leave them there. We would go back and do spot checks during the day, pick them up at 4 o'clock and bring them back. So the Pell Grant would fund them, and my goal is to work toward the 5 trades, heating and air, welding, electrical, those kinds of things, for them to earn a certificate, so when they leave, they're one step closer to having something to help find a job. And then I've met with KCTCS, and they're kind of looking at doing a journeyman program, which I explained, I said, I don't think I could do that because these are guys that are already skilled, would go out and work in factories, welding and stuff, and I said, you know, I don't have the manpower, the resources to drop 10 people off in 10 different locations. But I was at the Kiwanis lunch, and I can't think of the gentleman's name, with Pioneer Services.
Brad.
Yes, he was there, and then it's the new, but anyway, they said that they could use our inmates, could go out there and work, but what he's needing is needing more work. He said right now, because they do with a lot of government contracts. I know they work with Tartar Gates, they put stuff together that they sell in Tractor Supply under Country something brand, but it's actually Tartar Gates. Doing things like that. So he said they would qualify from where their addiction qualifies them as a disability. So we're looking at some different programs to start. I'm kind of putting this together and getting everything together, but hopefully we'll know something in a few months, and I'll have to apply with DLC and see which ones they were okay for. So kind of moving forward, which I think is good because you know, I've said it for a long time, our workforce is going to come from the jail. And I don't know what's the last number on how many empty jobs. Tom, do you know in the county?
Over 800.
So, you know, and if these guys can come out and have a job and they can save money, especially if they have child support, we could use part of their paychecks to pay off the arrearages on child support, and they would have a job and money to come out and get an apartment or vehicle and hopefully move forward and produce instead of taking it out of our county. So that's my goal. That's all I have, Judge.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Keep celebrating.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is Planning and Zoning Director Mikaela Gerry. Yay, there she is. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you all?
Good, good. We've got you up next for the solar ordinance.
Okay, great.
Pitch me.
Yep. Finally, sorry this took so long to get in front of you all. All right, so Danville Boyle County Planning and Zoning Commission met in regular session on May 22nd, 2024. In the Danville City Commission chambers with 6 members present for this text amendment. After a public hearing had been conducted, the Planning Commission's vote was 5 yeas and 1 nay for recommendation for approval to the Boyle County Fiscal Court. And that's the attached document that you all see here. I'm not sure if you want me to run through it all or if you just want to ask questions, or how do you want me to do this?
I think you need to go through it.
Why don't you give it, yeah, just give us, the highlights of what
Okay.
changed or what's been added or.
Yep, it's a little bit different than the draft that I had brought in front of you all a few months ago. Planning Commission had made some changes after we went through this process. The first big change is on that first page here. This is Article 4 of the zoning ordinance. And this has to do with the sewer requirement. We basically proposed creating a carve-out, is how I'd phrase it, for the sewer. So we put an asterisk next to that and allowed for merchant electric generating facilities where no plumbing is installed or required can basically move on without sewer. So typically for an industrial lot, we would require it to be on sewer. So if somebody comes in for a zoning map amendment and asks for it to be for a merchant electric generating facility, the Planning Commission could still here at the Fiscal Court make a decision on it if they show that there's no plumbing needed for the use, basically. Is there any questions on that part?
No.
Okay. The second page, the third page here, the use table. This is Article 5. I basically allowed for farming, crop, and livestock production to be a permitted use in the industrial zoning district. So the intent of this was that if we do carve out a big chunk of industrial within the county to allow for a merchant electric generating facility, and then say in 20 years from now the use is complete and it wants to go back to a farm, it wouldn't have to go through a zone change to do that. It would be permitted by right in that zoning district. So that was the intent, because previously it would not have been permitted. So the owner or the Fiscal Court Planning Commission would have had to initiate a zone change to allow for that use to take place.
So it automatically reverts back.
So it doesn't revert back, it's just now a permitted use, so it could remain industrial, but then they could continue on as a farming type use. It also allows them, if they create that industrial lot and a portion of it's used for solar farm, it would also allow for farming to still take place on the property, whereas before we wouldn't have been able to allow for farming. It could have been grandfathered in, but beyond that, it wouldn't have been a permitted use.
Wouldn't that immediately be consistent with the fact that LG&E and others are doing their films of the grazing that's going on underneath? So that's permitted as you've written it here.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So it'd be permitted as accessory or primary use of the property. Yep. Any questions on that? No? All right. Next page, just as a FYI, so the red underline is what we had previously proposed back when this first came in a year, 2 years, whatever it was ago. The highlight is what's been added and changed in this iteration of it. The highlight in red. So yeah, that just mentions the accessory uses include farming and livestock production. So I'm on page 5-45 now. We changed some of the setback requirements to 500 feet rather than 100 feet. We did create that cap that we had talked about, so maximum allowable coverage of 2,000 acres in Boyle County.
That's all that might come.
Yep. So Henry and I did talk about this. Public utilities are exempt from planning and zoning regulations, so my understanding is that if a public utility was to bring one in, it would not go towards that cap. It would just be if a private developer comes in. That's my understanding of it from talking with Henry, because it would not go through our permitting process. It would be, it's exempt from.
So for the public's understanding, unfortunately, it could exceed 2,000 acres.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What if it were a joint venture between, because this almost happened this way in Mercer County, that probably would not count against the 2,000 acres?
Probably not, because I think the public utility was the applicant in that case. If it was a private company that came in and applied for it, then I think it would count. towards
And
that
council
expense.
is saying there's no way to prevent that when it's a public utility.
I'm not aware of any way that we can do that because, again, they're exempt from our ordinance. I can't write anything in that would, regulate or govern what they're doing. So that's my best understanding of it. If we want to get additional clarification or have Henry write something up,
Unfortunately, from going over their public hearings, I'm afraid you're correct 100%.
Yeah.
So the only option is we could change the 2,000 to something less if we wanted to really try to limit how much is actually here in the county.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions on that part? Alright. Alright, I'm gonna kind of move on here. Most of this again is just the same. For landscaping requirements, we had originally put in some additional screening requirements. We reduced that back so it's going to match what our commercial landscaping requirements are for every other use.
Can you be specific about that? Because that's a real grave concern in our historic areas.
Yep. I brought our commercial landscaping requirements. So basically, we require a buffer between incompatible land uses, so 3 deciduous shade trees and 6 evergreen trees per each 100 linear feet of buffer, roughly, and then we require screening of vehicular use areas. So this would require screening for any VUA area, so any parking areas or any paved areas. And then also, I would require the screening along the property lines.
Good.
If they didn't put any VUA in the front, then we wouldn't be looking at a screen from the public right-of-way for the use. This could be a condition of the zone change. This is something that will probably be kind of case-specific, if it's if there's already a pretty good natural grade where it might not be as visible, then we might not feel that landscaping is required as other spots. But that's how this is written currently.
Okay.
Their landscaping requirements also talk about, because I was looking at it,
Yep.
talks about how the circumference of the tree. It's like it says 1 3/4 inch caliper. Talks about how the height 6 foot and the shrub material has to be 18 to 24 inches in height. So
Yeah.
I think it covers the things that what I was worried about not having in there. Once I looked at Danville's requirements, it made me feel better.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Me
Yep.
too.
So they will have to plant some trees, definitely. It's a little less strong than how we had written it previously, but there are still landscaping requirements there, so we have to buffer in between those uses, things like that. And again, this is something that you can put conditions on it as part of the zone change once we're working through that process too. So it's just kind of to match what every other use in the county and the cities are required to do. So, yeah.
One more consideration, because in one of our adjoining counties, they removed hundreds of tons of topsoil and essentially went down to the rock foundation. That will never in anybody's lifetime go back to farming. Do we have any kind of prohibition on the removal of topsoil, and with the assumption that you could go back to farming, because these things do end up being declared gone? Is there anything that would make sure?
We did not write anything in this ordinance to that effect. If that's something that the fiscal court wants to add in, it's certainly within your purview to do so, but that's not in the current ordinance.
So many areas of our county, you go down 12, 15 inches and you're on rock foundation. And I'd like to see if we can come up with some language to add to that, since we have that experience of a county that joins us.
Why?
Pardon me?
Why? I mean, it gets into landowner rights at that point. You can't tell a landowner that they can't strip away some of the dirt if they wanted to.
But all of the dirt down to nothing but rock is
Still their land.
tantamount to never restoring it to farmland.
Well, I mean, that's the consideration the farm owner has to think about, whether they want to ever bring it back to farmland or not. I mean, the reality is that once these things are in there, it's not going back to farm anyway. But I'm trying to figure out how we would even put that in language, Chris. I mean, I see a lot of legal challenges with that. It's my only concern.
I mean, you can say it, but definitely it can be challenged.
Yeah, I don't know. Gil?
So council, you're saying we could put something into that
I've not
effect?
seen that.
Possibly. I mean, I'd have to
solar
research to see if
packages.
it's in any other solar ordinance of other places.
Yeah, I can't picture one that has it, but
Well, I'm not opposed to it, Tom, but walk me through the why. I mean, I understand that you know, it's because you're worried about it being used for farmland again, but what, I guess the blunt way of saying it, what's the business of the county and why they're gonna let them take that topsoil or not? Because honestly, a lot of that topsoil goes to other farms. So, you know, they're stripping it and they're using it somewhere else. So, I don't know, I'm playing the other side on this one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I actually had conversations with former Commissioner Quarles about this, and it's something that he's concerned about too,
Yeah.
with his ag background and
Right.
everything. But I suppose if the screening is appropriately done and it becomes a defunct operation, that screen, maybe it could be the aftermath kind of a concept, that the screening would never be taken down if they're decommissioned.
yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they removed the trees unless they had a reason for it. I mean, maybe I'm being naive about that, but to go and dig out all those trees 20, 30 years after you planted them
Or
on
harvest
the
them to
boundary
timber.
of
I think that's a pretty good
property.
assumption.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. It's not gonna be in the middle of the use, so it won't impact future use of the property as far as having those trees in there, but.
And what are meaning our taxpayers' recourses built into this in a walkaway when everything is left on top of the ground, which is happening all over the country? You know, are the liabilities and the bonding issues strong enough?
Yeah, we matched the language to the state, so I referenced the state decommissioning requirements in this ordinance. So whatever the state's current requirements are, which right now it's to update it every 7 years and you know, things like that. So it's supposed to cover the full cost of it and then has to be reviewed every 7 years to account for technological changes, inflation, etc. So that's what we're matching right now. And if the state updates as they go, as they learn more about this, then we would be in lockstep with that, because that's what we're referencing. So,
Okay. Obviously, I have grave reservations about this in our county.
yep.
What if those are questions we can, I mean, as they come for permits, maybe that's somewhere we could ask the question that says, what are your intentions with the topsoil? What are your intentions with this? Maybe those are things we ask.
And by the way, after we take action on this, we still have to have one more public hearing, don't we?
You don't have to have a public hearing if you don't want to on this. It's not required. Planning Commission held the public hearing. You have to have 2 readings on this, so you will have to bring this to your next meeting to approve or deny the recommendation here. But
Judge, I'd like to go above and beyond by having a public hearing on this, because I know there's tremendous interest in my district. I've gotten several different farm.
The meetings are open to the public though, right?
Well, I know, but.
I mean,
but
the Planning and Zoning Commission held the public hearing, everybody was invited and welcome to attend there.
I don't think having one more would be a detriment to this process.
Will it hold up anything with you all if we have a public hearing?
no, you all have 90 days to approve this. It was originally approved on May 22nd, so you have 3 months from that date.
Where are we on our memorandum? Or moratorium?
I
Yeah.
think it's, is it October 1?
We've
or-
moved it a lot.
Yeah.
Look back at the notes.
I think it was 6 months from the end of March, off the top of my head.
I think that's correct.
right.
Good.
I would make a motion, we approve the planning and zoning recommendation for,
Yeah,
that's the first reading on
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion to approve first reading of the joint zoning ordinance by Magistrate Gay, and I have a second by Magistrate Cullen. Is there any discussion on approving what has been presented?
I would like to have that motion amended, that we would have a public hearing within the next 30 to 40 days, whatever council tells us would be appropriate for getting it out to the public.
Okay, so you're making a motion to amend the
Correct.
motion, okay? Is there a second? Not hearing a second, that motion dies from lack of a second. So we're back to our original motion to approve the zoning ordinance as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
No.
Okay, that is the first reading of joint zoning ordinance.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mikaela.
It's been, I know it's been a long journey on this.
Yep.
Thank
Thank you so much for all your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
And Counselor, thank you, and others who participated.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Resolution 24.06.11, which is in support of Title VI Civil Rights Act of 1964. Would you all like me to read the resolution and then you all approve, or have you read it and you want to go ahead and make a motion to approve?
I've read it, but I think reading it into the record, because it's so significant
Okay.
and so important.
I'll be glad to do that. Whereas the Boyle County Fiscal Court is dedicated to upholding Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. And whereas the Boyle County Fiscal Court acknowledges its responsibility to ensure compliance with Title VI and all other federal and state laws pertaining to non-discrimination. And whereas the Boyle County Fiscal Court receives federal financial assistance and thus is bound by the provisions of Title VI. Now therefore be it resolved that the Boyle County Fiscal Court unequivocally affirms its commitment to complying with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, ensuring that no individual shall be excluded from participation in, or denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Magistrate Ellis, second by Magistrate Sleeper. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, next is...
Judge.
Yeah.
Real quick, back to the solar, merchant solar.
Yes.
You know, we've talked about wish lists for, you know, when we meet with Daniel, meet with Amanda.
Yes.
For what they have at the, when they have their sessions.
Mhm.
And I would encourage everyone to read over KRS 278-706-2 and make sure that's the whole decommissioning plan. That's what we go by. So if there's questions, comments, or concerns that where we feel, where we've talked to the public or we've talked to whatever, that they need to be stronger, that's where the changes need to happen.
Could you repeat that KRS, please?
It's KRS 278-706.
It's the one that's listed, it's listed in the ordinance we just approved.
Yeah, it's at the very last part
It's
of
in
the
that decommissioning
section there.
Okay.
So,
I
but
just
yeah,
wanted
make
her
sure.
to get it for the record.
Yeah. I'll read it for you, Katina.
Will you read the whole KRS?
Yeah, I was thinking. I was gonna have Tom.
No, please.
Tom, I need Tom to go over.
I've got to go now. Once you get started, I'll be back.
I've read it. It's pretty thorough.
It is pretty
It is
thorough.
very thorough.
But if there's questions we have about decommissioning, I mean, they wrote it, but this
Right.
affects our community. So we really need to have them, you know, have our thoughts heard, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is EMS Director Mike Rogers.
Not this
Got a
guy.
couple of things on the agenda.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Fiscal Court. First thing we have on the agenda today is consider approval of a vehicle purchased for the crisis response team. We have several quotes from Bob Allen, Stuart Powell, and Auto Connection and Junction. Our recommendation is to go with the 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It has kind of things we were looking at to check off. It's 49,000 miles on it. It's right at $25,000 and has leather seats to be able to be cleaned after use. So that's our recommendation.
Okay, and you all did increase the budget line item for this at the last meeting, okay. Okay, do we have a motion to approve purchasing a 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee for the CCCR grant?
I make a motion.
Magistrate Bodner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion?
Difference between the Grand Cherokee and this Toyota, the Toyota had a lot less mileage on it and it was less money, I didn't know.
Yeah, it just I don't think it has quite the
small.
same amount of room. Yeah, it's you can see, if you see that in your picture it is not as clear, but you can see kind of the back seat and then where the lift gate is.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Corolla Cross, and so I'm not overly familiar with the Crosses, but all right, that's what's my biggest concern, is that Toyota generally will last a lot longer than the Jeep, but anyway.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of purchasing the Jeep Grand Cherokee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
That's good. The next thing is the Julota agreement, and we have approved this before, but
Sound like a drink or
they
Jello.
actually sent me the wrong agreement. And,
Yeah.
so this is the actual contract. It's 26 pages, has a lot of legal jargon in it. I sent it to Chris last Thursday to review, talked to him yesterday, he was good with it. So it just has a lot of definitions and things, but price hasn't changed, and
My head hurt a little bit after reading it.
yeah, it's not a fun document to read.
No.
Okay, anything specific we need to know, any different from last time?
I don't think so. The price is exactly the same. It just has all the definitions and
Okay, is this got changed from another state to Kentucky? Or
no, that was the area vet contract.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I just asked that Jamie read this one first, then.
Okay, I'll get back with you.
Okay, need a motion to approve the Gelato service agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gay, second by Commissioner Cullen. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thank you. So just to update you on the grant budget, we got $50,000 back a couple of months ago. We'll get $50,000 this month. That's for a $100,000 planning phase. We have to actually spend that money before we're able to get the next part of it, which starts in July. So we're trying to keep everything moving pretty quick. I did update the committee this morning, our committee this morning, on the progress of the team. Mark and Terry and I have been working hard, keeping this thing moving forward. It requires 2 trainings that we have to have before we can go, before we can become implemented. One is the mental health training. What's it called?
First aid.
First aid, mental health first aid. And then we had to have the crisis intervention training, which in this state is only available for police officers. So what we were able to do was use the curriculum from the Department of Justice, and we tailored it to EMS and took kind of law enforcement out of it and social workers. And we're holding a class on the 26th and the 27th. It'll be the first class that's done it's called Critical Intervention for first responders. So it'll be the first one done in the state. It was approved by the Department of Medicaid and
We discussed it yesterday with our meeting with the sheriff, with the deputy, Tony and Earl, about, we had a nice conversation about rushing to judgment.
You coming back?
If not, I mean, I'd like to say a few.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so before Roger leaves, we want to give him an early happy birthday for next Tuesday.
Birthday.
Man, we got a lot of birthdays.
Us, you can't beat us Gemini.
June babies. I know, them June babies.
That's right.
Who gets the award for having the most birthdays of this group?
Who's got the most candles? That's the question.
It's probably gonna be me.
I don't know.
Be careful.
You know?
So, happy early birthday.
Y'all have a good afternoon.
And
All right.
I need to talk to you about another thing up on Tennessee Bridge, but I'll call you.
After Tuesday.
Go.
Okay, we are back online, he says, and we need to redo the standing orders.
Oh.
So, just go through that again,
Okay,
Julie.
so every year we
Make a
approve the
motion we
standing
approve.
orders. The bills such as payroll, utilities, debt that we have to pay automatically, so.
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Cullen, a second by Magistrate Wagner. Any discussion on standing orders? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Standing orders are approved. All right. Dr. Durant, thank you for being here with us today. Appreciate you being here. Rick, thank you for being here today. Appreciate you being here. And we're going
He
to
hid
match.
today, so we couldn't really see him.
He's hid in the back. Director Quill, did you want to say anything, or are you just listening?
I'm just listening.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you wanted to report anything or not.
No, we're chugging right along right now.
Okay,
You know,
just wanted to give you the opportunity if you did. All right. Okay, so Magistrate Harmon, we'll start with you today on magistrate reports.
Good to be back.
Yes.
Glad to have
You can have every hospital in the state of Kentucky and all across the United States unless you need them.
it.
Great.
And appreciate all your prayers. We are facing a lot of changes, things that have been around since I was born, and more things are going to change. We've got to understand that our people out there, the citizens of Boyle County and the city, they don't take change well. Some do, but most don't. So we've got to be patient and give a lot of ear to listen and hear the people. Don't just stand there with a blank face, but really listen to the people, our constituents. Because they have to live every day, and most of them, as long as they can get their radio in tune on the way to work and back home, their life is good. And that's the way it should be. We're the ones that are to worry about everything that goes on and goes wrong and goes right. And the taxpayers, they're the people that are here. That's okay. And they'll be involved what they want to be involved with. But we're the people that are elected, set to office to take care of our constituents, make sure we make the right decisions. That's all I got. That's my pep talk.
All right.
Before the comments.
Yeah, so that's great.
Tuning me up, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Magistrate Harmon. Magistrate Cullen.
Yes, so this morning the EMS Awesome Committee met this morning, and we had an update on EC1. For those that don't know, EC1, our newest vehicle, was involved in an accident. No fault to the drivers. I'm happy to report that they are okay. Minimal damage on it, but it was they were responding to the accident that we had about a week or two back with the fatalities there on 127, and Unfortunately, somebody was impatient and decided to do a U-turn and did a U-turn right into EC1. So that's in the process of getting fixed. We talked about the vehicle for Mark, which has been approved. Also talked about the Julota contract. And runs for May were 576, so still high, still consistent. And then we also had a great update from Terry. Well, not a great update, but we're an update from Terry, and we're grateful that we have him in our community, and that this community has somebody that will reach out to help individuals when there hasn't been this kind of help before. It's a lot of this stuff people have to go through the crisis of what they're going through and then try to weed out the resources that they need or whatever. And Terry's a wealth of knowledge, and we are grateful to have him. And this court should be extremely proud of again looking at something, a need in the community, and actually fulfilling it. So kind of reminds me of when Magistrate Harmon really realized the need for Shepherd's House, and the court before us made it happen. And I'm glad to see that we're continuing to do stuff with Gerry and now Mark. So that was our update for today. For this morning's meeting.
Okay, is that your motion to approve your EMS committee?
That's my motion.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Motion Sleeper. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
All right, community happenings. We got the Blue Jean Ball happening on the 14th for Heritage Hospice. A great organization that has always self-fundraised, and we appreciate that. Pioneer Playhouse.
It's really my birthday party, but if you want to call it the Blue Jean Ball, that's okay.
Well, if it was your birthday, it would be pink Blue Jean Ball.
Oh, no.
Just to see Tom in pink would make me really happy, though. So. Anyway, and then Pioneer Playhouse is having its 75th anniversary. Are you celebrating that one too?
Yeah, hey, all weekend.
So, and then if you cannot find an event at the library this summer, you need to check your pulse.
Yeah.
Because if you
got a
look
lot
at their
going
page,
on.
there's a ton going on, and that's why I'm excited as they start to look at expanding their branches into other parts of the county that do pay taxes, so towards the border. That is all I have. Thanks everybody for really working on that solar ordinance. It's been a long time, and I'm glad that we got the first reading behind us. So at this point, they're moving on to technology anyway. So it's not even thinking anymore. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Master Cullen. Master Gay.
I do not really have anything, and I apologize to my fellow magistrates, but I'm going to have to slip out. I've got a meeting in Lexington.
All right.
We're going to lunch.
Yeah. Got a golf tea time.
Okay.
So I'll see you all up there.
All right. Be safe.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Master Sleeper.
Just a couple things. One is a reminder, rabies clinic will be in Junction City on June 22nd. And then I announced this last meeting, but just a reminder too, I'll be participating in the Kentucky Women's Network panel on discussion on affordable housing tonight at 7 p.m. at the RECC building.
Awesome.
So that's it.
Good deal. I'm glad you reminded us about the rabies clinic, because we need to get word out about it. And that's going to be at Junction City Park, right?
Yes.
Okay, on June 22nd. Okay, thank you. Master Ellis.
Thank you, Judge. I've brought it up many times, and I'm going to bring it up until something's done. I'm really getting the concerns and complaints about US 150 Perryville Road. People are literally straddling the rumble strip to avoid the potholes, and I think that the state's going to be paying for a lot of repairs on vehicles if something's not done and done very soon. I know it's ranking 4th or 5th along the lines of all the other roads that the state's worrying over here in Boyle County, but it needs immediate attention.
Senator Bledsoe is working on a solution for us.
Thank you, Judge. Number two, very positive results. Please, if you're traveling out in the country and you want to have a good time, stop over and look at the progress that the gentleman from Louisville who's investing his own funds in the Crawford House. It is just extraordinary what's going on. I was mowing yesterday, happened to come in and had a message from Ted Steinbach that he was there and wanted me to come and look because they now have an electrician inside the building and working on that. All the walls have been stabilized. A new roof was put on about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And that is one of the treasures of all the battlefields that we have in Kentucky. Kudos to Angie and all of Public Works, Roger and his bunch on the cleanup of the convenience center, and likewise to our jail folks and Chad who have been there and put up a new fence that is basically a rail fence that it really improves the look of the entrance there to convenience center. And by the way, the safety factor, Judge, as you and I know, has been improved dramatically by moving that about 300, 400 feet to where there are no quick turns to get in there when somebody's bringing in a trailer or anything else. Judge, I think we need to invite Spectrum back one more time. I'm getting more and more calls, 2 or 3 a week. Are you getting them as well?
Yeah.
We're 2.5 years behind the commitments that we made, and we've got to be able to tell these folks something. We had 3 gentlemen sitting in our audience here for several months ago, and we're just not getting the commitment that was promised back when they were here last.
I'll get that scheduled.
We're a year and a half in, not 2.
From
It was
the
before
meeting
I
we had
got here.
upstairs, it's over 2.
But they hadn't started yet. I think when they made that announcement, they had not started yet. So
Yeah.
I'll give them a little slack. And finally, I too am passionate about Heritage Hospice and the Blue Jean Ball. Please, please buy your tickets and come. The auction is, as Magistrate Cohen said, a major fundraiser for them. They don't come to us looking for much of anything other than the philosophical support. I'll be one of the folks calling out the bids and pushing hard for them to go as high as we possibly can make it. So please come. That's it, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Master Dallas. Master Wagner.
And I agree about the Spectrum. I have had lots of people say, did they get paid up front? Are they, where's our money? Why aren't we getting any service? So I still get a lot of comments about trying to get the internet out to the whole county, reliable internet. I wanted to thank the state for cutting back some trees on 300. I mean, it's gotten so bad that I can put my hand down and touch them just by barely putting my hand out the window. And I videoed that and sent it to Senator Bledsoe and Representative Elliott. So I'm glad we've got some of that done. There's still other roads, not 300. I told them it's not the only one. I have talked to a couple of people about some conditions on the road that I've started talking with Roger about. So I've still got to work on the Tennessee Ridge issue. Junction City's starting the process to update the park. We're going to start with the basketball court. So we're going to try to get those things ordered and start making a major that will, you don't know how many young teenage boys go down there and throw the ball, and it's really terrible looking. So now it's going to be updated, so that'll be a start to it. Did get a list of names from the Bluegrass ad of all my roads in the county, but it's like 17 pages long. So I was like, oh, this isn't good. I went to talk to Casey McCoy, and I'm going to get the map. I just want to know exactly, I'm still trying to get that.
I might have something that will help.
Okay, I'll see you. But I need it. I want it.
Okay, good.
One of my constituents noticed, and I also noticed that some lines that were marked on the 300 were just stopped, and then you had no lines, and then it started again. And I called and didn't get an answer, but he called and the lines are now on the road, are completed. So Dale Cox did that for us, so I was glad about that. Started talking to Tony Wilder and Emma Tucker and Emma Jean Tammy, and we're doing our 50th reunion. Yeah, we're gonna start, this is the year to celebrate our class of 74. Let's see. And June 17th, I'm meeting with the first group of concerned citizens for Junction City.
Good.
So I've got a small handful of really important people to me, and we're gonna start let's get in here and let's get some good things going for Junction City. So, and that's, like I've always said, we still have some things going down the pike with Mayor Douglas that's really, could be really great for our county, and he's still in that process. So I'll just wait till I have news to share. And that's
Great.
it. That's
All
I
right.
have.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I did have vacation Bible school, about died from that.
Oh, no.
It was wonderful, but wore me out, but it was an awesome experience. So, sorry, thank you. And now I'm done.
Good deal. Thank you very much.
I did have one other quick thing.
Oh, you've already gone, haven't you?
I had already gone. On 52, some of the people out on 52, and this involves you too, Paula, are getting some knocks on the doors, asking if people can come in and dig in their front yard to look for basically arrowheads. And it has to do with, it's like the first part of, it's an engineering study to make sure there's anything that they're going to mess up once they start making changes to 52. So if you get a knock on your door, that's what these people are coming about for.
Are they on 52 doing that? Not
Yeah.
Goggin, but 52?
52.
Okay.
Because actually I was driving by yesterday and I saw 4 people at the house right on Goggin and 52. And it's confusing to some of the residents because they say we're going to stay in the right of way, and then when pressed they're like, oh well, we might not be in the right of way. And the people I saw yesterday were in their yard. So,
Are they legitimate people?
yeah, they've got HMB
Okay.
stuff on their.
I think they still should come through the court to ask permission to be
It's a state road.
bothering our constituents.
Yeah, but it's a state road.
They're still our constituents. I mean, that's unnerving to a lot
Well,
of
Elena
folks.
was nice enough to tell me there's a couple people that actually had concerns about it, and I was talking with one of them who said, I'm all for this, but they never mentioned anything about road improvements. They said we just need to come dig 2-foot holes to make sure there's no.
Oh, this is section 106. I know what this is now, it just hit me. There's a when you use federal money, there's a review process that's required. It's called section 106. And that is to establish that there's no adverse effect on anything historic. So if they're doing a little bit of an archaeology dig, it's to comply with section 106.
So
Like
does
it's
not,
like communication.
so does not have to do with the 52?
It does.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, if they're wearing HMB stuff, that's, the banks, if banks build a new building, because they're federally regulated, they have to go through this. If Robert were to build a new radio station, because he's governed by the FCC, he would have to do this. Any streetscape, anything
We can put
like
something on our
that.
Facebook page.
They just don't want to
Yes,
dig
it's
into a
federally-
mound or.
Yes,
Yes.
so it's called section 106
Yes.
review. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, well, they're not telling the public what they're doing. They're
Right.
just saying
They need to do
we
that.
need to
Yes.
dig, and they're not being specific about where they're going to dig, because the one gentleman I spoke to said, well, if it's in the right of way, you don't need my permission.
Right.
But that's where he kind of got into, well, we might go a little out of the right of
Yeah,
way.
they're
That's
trying
what
to,
we need
It's a
do.
if there was a
communication
burial ground in their yard and they were cutting, that would be something they're looking for.
Yeah, well, I tried reaching out to Rob Sprague from the garage, but he hasn't called me back
Yeah.
yet, so.
I really, I drive 52 fairly frequently to go over to Richmond. And we need to dig into what the regs are, because it's fascinating to me that all over the state, we have modern day, last 300 year, graveyards that the state has moved. But to touch an Indian mound, to touch a grave or anything like that, the federal regulations are so stringent that we might not get 52 moved. unless we dig into just what provisions we can look into. That's why I'm saying that I really wish they'd come to us first.
They don't have to.
They may not have to, but
It's all governed through the Kentucky Heritage Council.
being sympathetic to all those who drive 52 every day, we could be in a circumstance where nothing changes. So if there are any provisions that are lenient, as they are for the graveyards of our ancestors in Kentucky.
Well, I would think with this being a state project, the Transportation Cabinet would already have to go ahead and survey all that.
Sounds like they didn't even contact DOT. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
It's all through the project. So
Yeah.
whoever is overseeing the
project
project, which is
manager.
the Transportation Cabinet, they know they have to do this.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
And
nothing we could start.
that's what's happening. This
Yeah.
guy or
Team, probably.
It's
team
just a
was
communication problem.
was going
They're
house
not
to house to
communicating.
say, to get
Yeah.
the permission for the people to start digging in there, but they weren't saying why they were digging. They were just like, hey, we need to dig 2-foot holes, and a lot of that out there is also farmland, and so it's
Yeah.
like, they don't want to mess with.
But they're digging it and then they're putting it back,
Right.
like they found it.
And
So they're not just digging holes and leaving.
Yeah, but as a farmer, if you where
Yeah.
you were walking before can bring something else in,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
contaminate the soil or whatever, depending on what it is.
That's
So
true.
They're looking for historic artifacts. That's all they're looking for.
Right.
To make sure that they're not digging in
It's not
a grave
environmental,
or
it's
Indian
just
mound or
historic
something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
My 2 cents here was that it is 452, even though, because they are not saying why they're doing the digging.
Do you want me to do some kind of?
Yeah, let's do a little
Yes.
Facebook post.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I could see somebody walking up to my door and say, I'm gonna dig in your yard, and you're like, oh.
You're gonna do what?
And they need to show their credentials and say why they're there.
Right. Well, just, and like I was asking for Sprague to call me back, just so I can get some clarification, because that's what the property owners want to know, where are you gonna dig?
Yeah.
And they couldn't say, they were like, well, we're not sure, we're just gonna start digging. So, which was interesting, because where they were digging where I saw them digging on the corner of Goggin and 52, I mean, they were at least 100 feet away from 52. They were on the other side of the guy's driveway, which is on Goggin. So I was like, oh, okay. But
Gotcha.
finding good gold, I want some.
Share it, please.
Anyway, thanks.
All right. Thank you all. County Attorney.
I think we had a successful brass band festival. I didn't go Friday night. I helped out with the Pepsi booth, but on Friday night they said they sold like a gazillion Pepsi products, so that's good because they're the only, the brass band is the only one allowed to sell drinks, so that helps because it costs a lot of money to put this on. But I went Saturday. The music was good, got a little cold, went home, but what I heard was it was really nice, except for a little bit of the rain, but it finally stopped. So
Well attended, I didn't get out there Saturday.
I don't think Saturday is as well attended due to the raining. I brought an awning, which I stayed dry, but it still was chilly.
Friday night was perfect. It was really good.
Friday was nice, and so just, everyone needs to be safe out on the roadways. Don't speed. Had a lot going on here in Danville the last couple of days with the shootings. We're gonna be looking into it, and we're gonna keep Danville, Boyle County safe. The one last thing, I was gonna have the cops in court. It's supposed to happen June 7th. I didn't get a lot of people signed up for that, but it's kind of vacation time, and people had some other courses maybe they were doing. So I've got it reset for September 27th. So please, Tony Gray, Taylor Bottom, encourage your deputies, officers to take part in this. It's only 20 people can do it, and actually, also people that were going to participate were some from the jail because they also testify in court. So it's really good course. The instructor's awesome. I hope we can fill that up on the 27th of September.
Is that it? Thank you. Julie, do you have any last?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
The Ethics Committee is in the process of sending out the second letter to non-compliant filers of the financial disclosures. I'm happy to say that Boyle County is 100% compliant. Everybody did it. We're the only group. So we have 135 people serving on various committees, and 60 of that 135 have not complied. So we'll be sending out a letter today. The Spectrum thing, for the people watching in the audience, that is a federal and state funded program, and so there's sections of the county that are under the federal money, and there's sections under the state money, and so we are not funding it through the county, and while we are sort of shepherding and encouraging them and cheering them on, it's something that's sort of outside of our jurisdiction. I wish it was under us, because then we could really make some things
But we literally
happen.
have no control.
But we
over it.
don't, and I feel terrible that Spectrum overpromised, underdelivered.
Right.
I feel like, so.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Well, I think the reminder is that they have to get a lease for every pole they go to.
Every single pole.
And they went from 250 pole leases a year to about 2,300 a month is where they're at. And so I think
It's a process.
I think it's the backlog on the lease, and I can talk with, Gerry Carter would be a good person to talk to about this, and when we talk in with Ben, but I think it's really the backlog of the poles.
Well, I spoke with Gerry about 3 weeks ago, and he said there are no impediments, that there's nothing standing in the way of his approval, so.
I think it's just the people getting to the poles and approving them.
Right.
You know,
I
and
think
then
they're
getting
still
back
trying
to
to
it.
survey where
Yeah.
they're going and what polls they want, is the way I understand it, but.
Because the reality is that Spectrum wants them on as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not getting any money.
losing money.
They're not getting any money
Yeah.
until those people are hooked up and connected.
Right.
So, it's not like they're just kind of like, whatever, we'll get to it. It's like they want to sign them up too. So this is a moneymaker for them.
So a couple other things, the budget has made it through the math review, so our math is good.
Yay!
We'll see what else. The administrative code, I'll be bringing it, so there's just a few minor changes this year that we need to make, nothing significant, so we'll do that at the next meeting. And I just want to report that the tax admin office continues to go after people that are non-compliant, and our latest capture is $112,000 plus another 68 in penalty and interest.
Oh, wow.
So we just paid for GovOS with
Wow.
one person.
Oh, wow.
So we're pretty excited. It's
Yeah,
probably
that's
our
awesome.
biggest one. So kudos to everybody
Mhm.
for doing
Yep.
that.
It was awesome. All right, is that all you have?
That's
The
it.
benefit of GovOS too is some of these people just don't know. It's not like they're being completely belligerent or just, not complying. It's confusing, and if they're having their taxes filed by somebody, I had a problem where I had a guy that filed my taxes from out of state. He'd always done it. He lived in Lexington and then he moved out west or whatever. He didn't know,
Yeah.
and so that's what you get into. So some of these people aren't just bad people, it's just they don't know.
Just ignorance, yeah, just not.
But they're complying with this as soon as they find out.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, is that everything?
That's it.
Okay, and I'll wrap us up here. I want to thank my staff for taking care of things while I was gone. There was a couple little, they had a little storm incident and a couple of things went on, but they handled it and took care of it. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody that did that. Also, Shepherd's House is having a luncheon on Friday at 11:30, and you need to RSVP if you all are going to attend, and that will be at the Shepherd's House on 3rd Street. One major change that has happened this week, in fact yesterday, is that we have changed the parking lot parking, I hope for the final time. So public parking, we now have 21 public parking spaces, which includes 2 handicap accessible spaces and 1 veterans parking space. So the public parking is now down the sidewalk, back how it used to be a couple years ago. So public can now park down the sidewalk, which is the closest entrance to the public entrance. They can just get out of their vehicle, walk down the sidewalk and in the door. And then across to the other side, there are, I think, 8 spots of public parking on that. So some of the staff have been assigned new parking spaces at the back of the courthouse, the sheriff's office, security, court security, have all been put together in one parking spot, and so that's opened up spaces for mostly the administrative staff that work in the judge's office and tax admin. So just want public.
Where do we park when we're coming to court?
The small lot. Yeah, as I did today, the library.
Well, the small lot is no longer public parking. It is courthouse parking only. So if you were parking in there when it was public parking, that now has been transitioned to the big parking lot. So you can park in a public parking space. The funeral home is gracious enough to allow us to park closest to our parking lot down through there. So we're ultimately out of parking spaces. I mean, if we were to hire another person, they literally would not have a parking space. So hiring's on hold because we don't have anywhere to park. But anyway, just wanted the public to know that those spaces are now public parking closest to the courthouse public entrance on 4th Street. Also, I want to say Happy Father's Day. It's coming up on Sunday, so Happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the room, and hope you all have an enjoyable day with kids, grandkids, or family members. So, and I think that's all I have. And I'll ask
Judge,
for a
I got
motion.
a copy, Royce, from the Secretary of Treasurer's office. I'm not sure everybody knows about the audit and what's happening. That it's going to be what, October?
Well, August, yeah.
August.
Well, yeah, it's been postponed till August.
But the good news is they've known all along the situation, and we're working collaboratively with them.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Measure Cullen, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Measure Sleeper. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carried. We're adjourned.
Clean all. Right.